Welcome YouTube. This is your boy Eddie coming to you with a video today on my new installation for my Dannmar M6 bin pack portable lift. Now, what I want to discuss today are some of the things that I found were most effective during this installation. And I also want to discuss some of the ways that I was able to get around some of the things required for the installation. So I'll start this video first by saying that I kind of liken myself to a very frugal individual. I look for every opportunity to maximize my purchases, and what that means is a lot of times I like to save money on any and everything that I can. Now, full disclosure here, this is a 6,000 pound lift, and some things you don't want to take shortcuts on, but there are still options available for people like me who do. So again, if you look behind me, you see my 2-post Max Jacks or Dannmar M6 lift. This lift is about a year and a half old. I was able to purchase this lift about 4 weeks ago. And I purchased this lift from someone who lived about 20 minutes from it, and they were downsizing. So unfortunately, the new place that they got, they were unable to take the lift with them. Now, the beautiful thing about this was the individual that I purchased this from was a technician. He actually used this lift after hours to install to fix and repair vehicles for customers who potentially could not afford the prices at the shop that he worked on. So he would work on those vehicles and tune those vehicles after hours. He also was a Ford Mustang guy, and he had a Mustang that he would take to the track. So also in his spare time, he used this lift to work on his Mustang. Now, I know that's a lot, but I'm saying it to say this. I purchased this from someone who was a mechanic. And so I've been looking through various places, and you know, as a mechanic myself, someone who has worked at Firestone, someone who has worked at Strauss, someone who understands how these lifts work, to me, it was a very good buy to purchase from someone who knows how to operate lifts, because they do it for their profession. And so the wear and tear on it was very minimal. He actually purchased it about a year ago, and it's essentially a brand new lift. So I have all the materials that belong to it, all the packaging that came with it. So he took very good care of it. In fact, he gave me some extras that he had also purchased with the lift, because he had a Ford F-150, so he needed risers to install on the arms of the lift in order to get that vehicle in the air. But case in point, the installation took me about 2 days. If you read the instructions correctly, when you purchase the anchors, you have to purchase a 5/8 concrete masonry bit, and then you have to follow that with a 7/8 concrete masonry bit. And this is where it gets important, because this is something that I want to actually show you. The Max Jacks anchor vault kit I've ordered twice, and again, I scoured the internet looking for a deal. $187 is $187. That's what you're spending. It doesn't matter where you buy it. The difference is you have to also pay tax, but then a lot of places charge shipping. So if you order from Max Jacks, you're paying shipping. If you order from Jags, you're paying shipping. So me, being the frugal individual that I am, I decided to order for Summit Racing. Summit Racing offers free shipping. So I decided that was the best I was going to do. Let me order the kit from Summit Racing, and then let me install that kit. And if you give me a moment, I'll show you exactly what that kit looks like. So here's your 10 Max Jacks anchor bolts, and these are your concrete anchors. And what happens is, when you install this concrete anchor, you have to do 90 foot-pounds for the actual anchor itself. And then when you torque the nut, you have to do 120 foot-pounds. Now, the thing about this anchor that was interesting is that this is an M16 by 2.0 bolt. Now, this is why I say this is interesting. When you receive the Max Jack's directions, okay, everyone on YouTube talks about this. The sacrificial bolt that's going to be required in order to hammer these things in. Well, my original kit did not come with a sacrificial bolt. So, I'm reading the directions and unable to perform them because they did not provide me with the M16 bolt that I needed in order to bang these anchors in. So of course I get on the phone with Summit Racing. My anchor bolts came in a bag instead of a box, so my assumption at first was somebody purchased it and returned it, and that's why it's in a bag. So I convinced Summit Racing, which they were very good about doing, sending me another one after getting off the phone with Max Jackson confirming that it is indeed supposed to come with the sacrificial bolt. Well, I did receive from Summit Racing a second set, and I returned the original. As you can see, the second set also came in a plastic bag, and there was no sacrificial bolt. So at this point, I'm kind of stunned because I have a lift, been sitting in my garage for 3 weeks, and I can't install it because I don't have the sacrificial bolt. I'm on the phone with Max Jacks again, which is what a lot of these companies do. They want you to sit online so that you're so annoyed that you hang up the phone. Well, me, I was focused. I wanted to install my lift. I've wanted a lift for a very long time, and so therefore, I waited patiently. Only for Max Jack's representatives to get on the phone and say they no longer include the sacrificial bolt in the kit. Well, why is that important? Because you can't install it without it. Now, I will tell you that I work in a industry that requires your Fastenals, your Grangers, your MCSs, your Lowe's, your Home Depots at times. None of those places carried the M16 by 2.0 bolt that I needed to install this. Because it could have been a simple fix. I could have just went to Fastenal, I could have just went to Granger, I could have ordered the part I need, and then I could have installed it. I was having so many problems locating this bolt. I said there has to be another option. Because the first thought that came to mind is if I strip a bolt, or if a bolt breaks, now I'm in a situation where I cannot locate one. So rather than go with that, I decided to go another route. I did my research online, and I actually uncovered an anchor bolt that was original to the Dannmar M6. And again, I did a lot of research on this bolt prior to purchasing it. And so I went to Amazon.com and I looked up a comparable bolt that was used. It was a reputable manufacturer, and this bolt was used by many people worldwide who installed 4-post lifts and 2-post lifts. So it was actually a Wedget. So Wedget makes the company, is the manufacturer, and Amazon actually sells the Wedget bolt kit, or at the time when I bought the Wedget drop-in anchor kit, I actually was able to get that kit for 5 anchors, drop-in anchors, for $36. So as opposed to spending the original $187 I spent, I wound up getting 2 for about, I think I want to say after tax, probably $75. And then you know with Amazon, if you're a Prime member, it's coming to your house in 1 or 2 days. Now, I was fully aware of what went down with the Wedget bolt kit that I decided to buy. It did come with the sacrificial bolts. In fact, it came with 2. The only difference is it didn't come with the nuts to secure the concrete anchor, nor did it include the bolts. But no problem. because I could go to Granger and get a 5/8 ball. I can go to Lowe's and get a 5/8 ball. I can go to Fastenal and get a 5/8 ball. I can go to Home Depot and get a 5/8 ball. So the thought behind it was, guess what? This ball is widely available. It's sold everywhere, and I will not have any issues if I decide to purchase the same kit again and move it, which I will not be doing. I have a dedicated space for my lift, and I just don't believe in, even though it's advertised as being portable, I don't believe with some things they should be portable, and a lift is one of them. So where it's located is where it'll stay until I die or until I sell a house. But that being said, when you purchase the Max Jacks kit, I was told by Max Jacks that they no longer include the sacrificial bowl. So you want to take that under consideration, because that metric or M6 2.0 ball, I could not find anywhere on the internet, even eBay. The issue is the length of the ball has to be able to create that 5/8 separation that you need in order to hammer it in, and it needs to be able to go all the way down to the bottom of the anchor so you don't tear the threads. I could not find it. Maybe you can, but I could not. But standard is available everywhere, and I would go that route if I was you. Now, secondly, when I installed it, with the holes, you have to drill them 5 inches deep. Actually wasn't a problem. But Home Depot wanted $45 for me to rent the equipment. Now, I don't believe in paying rent to nobody. So I said, let me see if I can go on Facebook or eBay or Craigslist or OfferUp. Let me see if there's another route where I could possibly purchase an item, okay, for the price it costs to rent. Because one of the things that I found online with a lot of people who do the Max Jacks and the Dannmars is they always rush in the video because they only have a certain amount of time to rent the tool. I wanted to take my time. I wanted to make sure that those holes were the correct depth. I wanted to make sure that those holes were the correct width. And I wanted to make sure there was no real issues when I installed mine. So I didn't want to rush. So I was able to go online on Facebook Marketplace, and I was able to find a rotary hammer by Milwaukee. Now, I love Milwaukee. I've used Milwaukee for a great deal of time. And again, if you have the option to buy as opposed to rent, you always go with that option. Now, this is an older one, but guess what? It got the job done without issue, and guess what? It's cordless. So these are the older 18-volt batteries, but the individual that I bought them from was an electrician who lived about 8 miles from my house. And guess what he did? He took very good care of this. And the batteries actually hold a charge for a very good amount of time. And because I had 3 batteries, I was able to get the job done relatively quickly without stopping. The bit is what began to cause problems, not the drill itself, because the bit did begin to wear when you're trying to drill 10 holes at 5/8 and 7/8. But that's a different story. The job got done, the lifts were right, the widths were right, and everything was done well. So, if you have the opportunity to purchase as opposed to rent, I would highly recommend scouring the internet and seeing if you can get a better option. Now, this is my 5/8. This is my 7/8. Now, what I did was, if you watch the Max Jacks and it tells you the lengths, if you see that torn tape right there, that's electrical tape. That's how I knew what my depths were supposed to be while I was drilling. Now, I put about 5 or 6 layers of that electrical tape so that I knew exactly when I got to the depth that was required once I did that. And even these, when I went online, these are Milwaukee, and these are special for rotary hammers. When I purchased these, I actually scoured the internet to see if I could find a better deal. Not only did I save tax, not only did I save shipping, but I was able to go on eBay and find these for less than, the 7/8 was actually 65% cheaper than what Home Depot wanted, and the 5/8 was about 50% cheaper. So again, that's cost savings, and I got real Milwaukee bits to use with my Milwaukee hammer. So again, anyone that knows me, saving a couple dollars here and there is really a great deal. And so I'm always looking for an opportunity to save. So some of the other issues that I encountered when looking at some of these YouTube videos were the hose. Now, as you can see, I have bumper covers or ramps over my hose. Now, what a lot of people like to do when I watch the setup was they would buy an extension hose, they would run it to the top to the other side, and they would mount their unit on the side of the wall. Now, I thought about that based on some of the videos that I saw. I decided not to go that route. Honestly, the hose being on the ground was not that bad. The biggest issue, obviously, is running over it with your car. So I was able to find these amazing ramps, and they are one channel, and that channel can accommodate up to a 1-inch pipe. And so I was able to purchase these, and I was able to put the ramps over top of my hose. That way I don't worry about running over my hose. These can support a ton of weight, and I actually, again, Amazon is a place that I really enjoy. Was able to purchase these on Amazon Marketplace. These ramps are 40 inches in length. They sent me 3 of them, and they were on Amazon for about 40 bucks. I'll actually give you a close-up of what one looks like. So these are Vevers, okay? Vever. And so these ramps, again, there's a 1-inch channel on the bottom, 1 inch. And the beautiful thing about it, these come with concrete anchors that you can drill in and keep in place. Now mine, I'm not drilling into my concrete anymore. I just had to drill 10 holes in my concrete, not doing it anymore. So these are fine, again, just for my wheels to go. And as long as you drive slow, they don't move. So I'm okay. But you can get a 3-pack of these. These are 40 inches in length. And they will do all you need to do in order to protect your Max Jax hose or your Dannmar M6 hose. Now again, I told you I do a lot of research, and so one of the things that I found was individuals who installed these lifts regularly, and forgive me for that, I had to find it, recommended using concrete epoxy. Now I've never used concrete epoxy before, never had a use for it, but one thing I will tell you, before you blink, this stuff sets. When you set the anchors, I was setting these on my bench, okay, in my vise. And so you have to install a nut and a spacer. There has to be 5 inches of length. You have to bang it in, and then you rotate the nut till you get to 90 foot-pounds. That's per the directions that will come with this. And that felt like forever. It said 3 turns of 90 foot-pounds. But an individual that I read, it said, listen, concrete epoxy is 22 bucks at Home Depot. And it's nice because it comes in a tube where you can use your gun. There's 2 bags inside, and the mixture mixes, and then you put the concrete epoxy inside. You know, 22 bucks for added assurance, to me seemed like a great idea. The issue is, again, and I'm not exaggerating, I don't think I've ever seen anything, including super glue, set as fast as this epoxy came. So it will come with 2 of these tubes. And the reason why it comes with 2 of these tubes, because as soon as you put the gun down and pick it back up, it's clogged. It will no longer work. I made the mistake of thinking I was fast enough to inject this stuff inside of 5 of my holes, and I would be quick enough in order to set my bolts, hammer them in, and it'll work. Well, it worked for about 2 of them, barely. By the time I got to the 3rd one, it already set. Now, for a full cure, anything that you buy is going to say 24 hours. This particular epoxy sets up in about 4 hours. The issue with concrete epoxy is it's about 3 times stronger than regular concrete, depending on what you buy. There are some that are 8 times stronger. So this stuff right here, it cures pretty quickly, and it hard and fast. So when I went to go set that third bolt in, now you got to mind, I'm a 212-pound man with a hammer, okay? A hammer, not a mallet, not a rubber mallet. I had a hammer, okay, a sledgehammer. And that anchor bolt would not go in. That concrete epoxy had already secured. And so I wound up re-drilling it because it had set so fast. So what I started doing was I put tape over this to allow air not to go in there. And I did the best I could with trying to prepare 2 or 3 of my anchors at one time. That way, once I inject it, I could hammer it directly in. And that's what I started doing, and that seemed to work for me. And so I did not have to use the second tube. But I would recommend, listen, even if you got 5, 5.5, even if you got the rated concrete, which is I think the minimal is 4,000 PSI. My concrete was poured in 96. My slab was pretty even. But I would recommend using this stuff as added security, because you'll find in the end, even when everything is installed, the hardest part of this job isn't the 90-pound torque, foot-pounds, isn't the 120 foot-pounds of torque, isn't the measuring, which a lot of people online, I watched how they measured to make sure that their max jack lift was pretty close. I used the laser level. So I went from cylinder to cylinder, right middle, across 128 inches to make sure that mine were lined up before I did the installation. And I checked that measurement on both sides at least 10, 20 times to make sure that the lift was close. Because as you know with buildings, as they settle over time, I don't know if this was, I don't know if this concrete was poured the same on both corners. I don't know if it's square, which I'm finding with older homes, nothing ever is. So rather than rely only on measurements, I also used the laser level between cylinder to cylinder to make sure that I was straight up and down and level. And then shim, which I had to do very little shimming, which I was very surprised. My concrete was pretty level. But the point that I was trying to make is, when you do this installation, okay, you want to make sure that the hardest part is not going to be drilling out the holes or pouring the concrete epoxy or hammering in the anchor. The hardest part, honestly, is not physical, it's mental. Once you do all the installation, you're still hesitant about putting that car on the lift, even if you followed the directions to a T, even if you were able to get 120 foot-pounds of torque on those bolts. We know the way gravity is set up. Once that lift goes up and that car is on there, the way that thing is going up, those lifts are going to fall inward. So mentally for me was the hardest part to say, you know what, you did everything right. You got to have hope, you got to have faith, you got to believe that you did everything right. And those bolts are not going to come up out the ground once you insert them. And once I got past that, I was good. And I actually pulled my car in, and I'll show you. The other thing about the Max Jacks, where they tell you to accommodate the lift space to the largest vehicle that you have. Now, again, I'm not bragging. I just want to be very honest with you. The whole reason with me going with a 2-point lift, this size, this brand, is because I have very short walls. My floor to ceiling is about 98 inches. So I have a very low ceiling. Now, to make that ceiling lower is I actually have a girder going across, okay? Which, with the girder, I lose about 8 to 10 inches, right, to support my floor. So the Max Jacks seem like a great deal. Now, I also looked at lifts that were, they call them scissor lifts. I looked at 2 of them, actually, because where I live at, a lot of people were moving, selling their home, trying to take advantage of this market. So I looked at 2 scissor lifts. The issue was, 2 issues with the scissor lift. One, now I don't plan on working on a transmission or a motor, but I can. And by me having a 2-post lift, it gives me that flexibility if I need to do an oil change or something of that sort, where a lot of times the scissor lifts weren't giving you that lift. But then also the issue with the scissor lift is I have a Tesla. So I've got a Model S, and the scissor lifts were unable to reach the mounting points for the Tesla. And I tried two of them. The scissor lifts extended up to about 6 feet, but that was not long and wide enough to accommodate to lift the Tesla Model S. So I decided to go with the Dannmar M6 because it lifted the Tesla Model X perfectly, okay? No issues here with reaching. So the Tesla Model S, for those of you who own them or thinking about owning them, is actually a pretty wide car, very wide car. So with the Tesla Model S, I had to go about 128, 130 inches in order to accommodate being able to reach out and lift up that car. Now I have some smaller cars like my Audi TT or my SL5 that are a little smaller. And then also with this lift, I used to have a motorcycle lift and an ATV lift. Well, MaxJack sells an extension that you can install on this lift so you can work on your ATVs, your lawn tractors, as well as your motorcycle. So goodbye to that lift. That actually is getting ready to go too also, so I can create some space. Again, I'm a budget conscious guy, so I'm going to look for a deal. But unfortunately, I've been looking for a long time and I haven't found one. So that part might have to come from MaxJack directly. And it is a bit pricey, but it's worth it, especially if you can use it as an attachment on your current setup. Now, the other thing about this lift is when you first get it and you do your research, you'll find that the cylinders leak quite a bit. So once I plugged up the hydraulic lines, my hydraulic fluid lines, I noticed that one end went up higher than the other. And so there's a bleed screw at the top of the cylinder to let the air out. And so I had to do that with the left side. I did not have to do that with the right side. What I was finding is as I tried to lift the lift, you would hear it almost cavitate like a pump that's starving for water. And so in my career, that told me that there was, I understood, okay, if there's a cavitation, there's probably air in the line. And so it was cavitating as it was going up. So I actually put that up in the air to put some pressure behind it, opened up the bleed screw with an Allen, and relieved the air, and I have not had that issue. Now, the lift is still wonky in the sense that one side may be slightly higher than the other, but that doesn't really bother me too much. It's as straight as it can be. It is level as can be. And tell you the truth, for my ceiling height and for the space that I had, this was the perfect lift, and I'm amped. I do things like every car that I have a set of summer tires. I have a set of winter tires. I also, I still do brakes. I do oil change on a few vehicles that I have. So me being or getting older, I see people who are a lot older than me, especially maintenance technicians, regardless of industry, their knees start to go, their backs start to go, certain things start to go. So I honestly thought it was a great investment for me, for someone who regularly changes out their wheels, their tires, that does their brakes and does minor work, for me to get a lift so I don't have to worry about when I get older putting too much strain. I had a Hummer H2 with 26-inch wheels, and let me tell you, those things were god-awful heavy. And so now I'm in a situation, again, I'm not saying you can lift a Hummer with this because you can't. This has a 6,000-pound capacity. But the point that I'm trying to make is I can get all 4 points of my car up off the ground at one shot, as opposed to going out there on that blacktop and constantly putting dimples and holes in my asphalt. Even with putting stuff underneath, wood block or a piece of plywood, you still put indentations in that blacktop depending on how hot the blacktop gets. So, and then I don't have to worry about lifting it up one at a time. I lift up all 4 off the ground, replace them, and I'm done. So, this has, again, been a great investment for me. I'm very happy with it. It's something that I've always wanted, and it was something as I get older, the opportunity presented itself. I had a couple dollars saved up, and I took advantage of it. But, again, my experience with it so far has been a great experience, and I would recommend anyone out there on the market that's actually looking for this to look for it. Now lastly, before I pull my car in to lift it for you or show you how it operates, I also looked at 4-point lifts, and they actually sell 4-point lifts that also accommodate low ceilings. The issue that I had with the 4-point lift is most of the people that buy those are the people that want to be able to store 2 cars in the garage. That's one. Again, I have a girder, so I would not be able to do that. And two, the issue with the 4-point lift, even though they sell jacks, the jacks are manual. You can buy a jack. They're very expensive. You have to get 2 if you want to lift the car up. And I have the Tesla, so I had to keep in mind that I needed a jack that could extend and slide that would be able to accommodate lifting a Tesla. And then 2 with the 4, so this was the way I chose to go. And again, I'm very excited by it. I'm very happy. It's going to get very low usage. It's only going to be used to switch my winter and my summers, to change out my brakes if I have to do an occasional O2 sensor on the exhaust. So it's not going to get a lot of wear and tear, and it fit my needs perfectly. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is just show you. I'm going to pull my car in, and I'm going to show you how it lifts. I have the 110 volt setup, which does lift a little bit slow. Ain't bothering me. When I'm off, so I'm not in no rush. So let me go pull my car in and show you exactly how it lifts. So, I'll show you this real quick. Sorry. Now that's what your lift arms look like. this locks it in place. So you have to pull it up to move, because in order for me to clear that ramp, I had to lift it a little bit. So you pour this up, which locks it in place with the teeth, so it doesn't move when you lift it up. And it's done like that on both sides. Okay? Now these are the risers that I was referring to, and this is the unit that I'm referring to. Listen, this thing is far enough away from the wall where it wasn't going to give me any problems. I didn't feel like I needed to go through all the hassle of trying to put it on the wall. I got a plug right there, it plugs right in. The risers, everything is perfect. So now I'm going to put the phone back, and I'm going to show you how this is lifted in action. So let me make sure. Back online. And we're going to watch this thing go up. Okay? So, there you have it. There you have it. Now, if you want extra support, a lot of people also, and I have these jack stands right here, okay? They'll put the jack stands underneath, and then they'll lower it to make you feel a little bit more secure. That's also an option too. But again, when I'm working this low, again, to change brakes or change out tires or an ABS sensor, that stuff never really occurs to me at all. Never really gives me a problem. So I decided not to go that route. But I will tell you, I do appreciate the time that you've taken out. This has probably been one of the best investments that I have personally ever made. I'm extremely happy that I was able to afford something like this. And I hope that you make the decision to go out here and get this Dannmar M6 or the Max Jack bend pack 2-post lift, because it's a great lift, and not only will it help you now, but it'll save your physical degradation in the future. So again, thank you for taking the time out to listen to my experience with this lift, and if there are any questions or comments, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Take care and enjoy your day.